Hi there guys, I'm Mike Brown and welcome back to the London store of sax.co.uk. Today we're going to be talking about a bit of a contentious issue with the saxophone. How do we mute it? Now the sax is a loud instrument. It wants to sit at quite a high volume naturally. This can be annoying for our neighbours, our parents, the people around us when we're practicing. Now unfortunately, when muting the saxophone, we can't simply pop a mute into the end of it like they do with the trumpet. The reason being, we have all of these tone holes along the body of the instrument, all of which release their own sound. So in order for us to mute the saxophone, we need to think about it in a slightly different way. The first solution I want to talk about is the MMD SAXMUTE. Now this is really taken from the old idea of popping a sock into the bell. However, they've refined it down a little bit more and it's much more effective nowadays. Now, as you can see, it's consisting of 3 different sponge-like mutes. And the idea is that they pop into different areas of the saxophone in order to cut down the airflow and therefore the sound that's coming out. Now, the places that they go in are into the mouthpiece, just up here. Just hiding in there, okay. They also go into the receiver between the neck and the body of the saxophone, just hiding in there. And then my final piece goes into the bell of the saxophone. So we found that these mutes are most effective in certain areas of the saxophone. The one that is in the bell is actually almost superfluous. It doesn't really do a huge amount to the volume level of the sax. There is a little bit of a drop, but it's not a huge amount. And what it does do is, because it's restricting these tone holes at the bottom of the instrument, it means that when I try and play down low, it really cuts those notes out. So if you're looking to explore the bottom end of the instrument, these mutes in the bell are maybe not as effective. The place that we've found it to be most effective is right here, in between the neck and the body. The reason being, this is kind of like the choke point of the saxophone and it cuts out the most air. So I'm going to remove all of my mutes except for the one that is in the neck, and hopefully that'll give you an idea of how effective this one is. Now, it's worth bearing in mind with this solution, it's a nice, cheap, entry-level solution. However, because of the way it affects how you play the saxophone, it's not necessarily going to be of a huge amount of use to beginners or those who have just started learning. It restricts the way the saxophone speaks, and you might think it's you instead of the mute having that effect. The next solution I'd like to talk to you about is the SAXMUTE one. Now this is an entirely acoustic mute in a similar fashion to the MMD SAXMUTE. However, this is more of a mid-range solution and it's a little bit more expensive. However, in my mind, it's more effective in its dampening of the saxophone sound. Now, it's got an exterior plastic molded case, okay? And within that, we have some acoustic baffle designed to soak up all of those sound waves. Now, the reason I particularly like this mute is, in addition to this nice easy sealing system, which is just a magnetic strip, it's got sufficient space within it to allow you to play the saxophone freely. What I mean by that is, if you can see these bulbous areas at the side, they allow the bottom end of the saxophone to play fully and receive the kind of air that it should do. So you're not restricted by this mute in any means. I particularly like this mute as well because in my mind it's beginner friendly. It encourages good posture, and the mute itself is not going to affect the way the saxophone plays, except bringing down that volume level from up here right the way down to here. In this setup, we have the SAXMUTE 1 on a Hercules standing stand. Now, it is designed to work in conjunction with that stand, so that is going to be the most effective setup for this mute. However, you can also put it on a PA stand, you can rest it on tables, on beds, on your own body, and you can also strap it into a neck strap. However, I did find that was a little bit cumbersome and got in the way of your practicing slightly. So in order to set this up, all we need to do is take the back half of the mute and have it seal against this magnetic strip here, okay? There we go, almost in. Once we're there, our hands just go through these two holes, and the neoprene inserts help make it a little bit more comfortable. So the final mute I wanted to talk to you today about is the E-SAX mute. Now, this is a little bit more of an expensive solution to muting the saxophone. However, due to the increased quality of the finishing on this product and the additional inbuilt features on it, I feel it justifies that additional price tag. So the E-SAX mute is an acoustic mute in a similar manner to our SAXMUTE 1. However, it's got some additional benefits. Because we've got a microphone system in there, as players, we hear the true voice of the saxophone coming through headphones, while those around us don't have to be bothered by that loud, in-your-face sax sound that we often produce. Additionally, we've got both a line out and an aux in. Now, the line out can potentially allow us to run this microphone through into pedals and get different effects upon it. And the aux in is going to allow you to run a line into this. So for example, if you wanted to have your computer or your iPod playing a tune while you practiced, you can run it into the aux in. Now, with this particular mute, there is one small area of limitation. Due to the internal dimensions of the mute, as you can see, it's not quite as large as our SAXMUTE 1. It restricts the airflow in the lower regions of the sax. This means that when you're playing your low notes, C sharp, Cs, Bs and B flats, you're going to find that it's more resistive. Now, this isn't the saxophone, this isn't you, this is the mute and the way it is changing the physics of the instrument. However, because we get so much benefit from this mute, it really negates that small little problem down the bottom end. Okay, now the final thing to bear in mind with this one, guys, is that it is not stand compatible like our SAXMUTE 1. So, because there's an additional weight involved, you're going to have to bear that in mind when practicing. You can certainly rest it on things and that can take the weight for you, or you can hook yourself in like you would with a normal neck strap and that can take the weight as well, but it's going to be across your neck, or if you're wearing a full harness, across your shoulders as well, guys. Really good bit of kit, and I'm definitely going to explore these mutes a little bit more because there have been plenty of times when I've wanted to practice and the idea of doing it, in my mind, is not really okay to those around me. The mutes take care of that.